Joining us right now, a guy that I'm sure is still enjoying it 24 hours later in his mind, in his heart, with all his countrymen from CIRV Radio, Jorge Neves. Jorge, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Anthony. How are you?
I tell you what, I'm not as good as you and all the lovely people of Portugal enjoying that victory. Before we talk about the game, let's talk about the celebration. I tell you, in 2006, when Italy won the World Cup, I went with my two sons and my wife. We went to St. Clair, Woodbridge. We had a wonderful time. It was safe and people enjoyed it. And by all accounts, the Portuguese people did the same. Give us some of the feeling. Give us some of the passion. Give us some of the insight on what took place in downtown Toronto.
It was amazing. It was massive. All of Portuguese people that live around Little Portugal in the streets, young kids that probably they don't pronounce a lot of words in Portuguese, but they know the word Portugal, they know Cristiano Ronaldo, so they were wearing with proud the national colors, the flags, the T-shirts. It was unbelievable. A lot of cars in the street, a lot of people, massive crowd, not only in Little Portugal, but also in St. Clair. There's a lot of Portuguese bars in the area right now, so a lot of people goes there to celebrate. There was a lot of excitement, and it went through the night.
And what I loved about it, like I said, Jorge, it was peaceful, it was enjoyable, and it was a time to never forget for the Portuguese people. And what I also enjoyed, and I'd like to see this more and more, I saw it in 2006, 2010 as well, and again in this Euro, is you have a Portuguese flag and a Canadian flag. And that's the way it needs to be in each and every World Cup and Euro and Copa America. Agree?
100% sure. We never forget our homeland, our country, but we live in Canada, so we need to be proud of this country that accept us and allow us to cheer for our national team, for our roots. But it's a great country, Canada, and I really hope to see Canada one day being in the final of the World Cup. It's going to be amazing for sure for this country.
And that's what I said, Jorge, and I said it to all Italian supporters, Spanish, Portuguese, German, all the people that love Copa America, that follow Chile, Uruguay, Argentina. I beg, I plead, I ask you, if you live in Canada, you work in Canada, you came to this country because you love Canada, Canada is playing two very important World Cup qualifying games coming in the fall, in September, and in October against Honduras, El Salvador. We need your support. Put on that Canadian flag, put on that Canadian red, and now support the country of Canada, Jorge.
For sure. I have a Canadian flag, I have a Canadian jersey, so I'm ready to party, to cheer for Canada. It's my second country, and I'm proud of being Portuguese, but I'm 100% proud of being Canadian too. So we need to bring our passion, the Latin passion, from Italians, from Portuguese, from the Britons to the soccer, to the field, to cheer for our athletes, for our players during those important games. And we need to cheer for them.
Well said, Jorge. Let's talk about the game. Let's break it down. Let's get right to the injury. Ronaldo goes out. You could see that he was in pain. You could see that it was something serious. It was something that was really excruciating pain for him to come off. What have we heard today since that injury? Have we heard that it is something serious? Is there x-rays, an MRI going to be done in the next couple days? What have we heard about that injury?
Well, he told yesterday in a flash interview that he was just a little injured, but I'm not 100% sure, because you know that Ronaldo is a very strong person with a strong character, and he tried to go back in the pitch to keep playing, but for sure it was something, I don't say it's going to be major, but something that he was concerned about it. So that's why he decided to get out of the game. But in the next couple of days, for sure, we're going to have more news about it. But today, I don't think so, because he's been party all day in Portugal. It was a massive, huge crowd in Lisbon, the main city, the capital of Portugal. and Ronaldo was there, was jumping with the other players, singing. It was all excitement, no injuries, no talking about soccer. Now it's just time to party and to live this dream, this magical moment for the Portuguese soccer fans.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. So Jorge, when Ronaldo went out, I turned to my wife and I said, Portugal is going to win this game. They're going to win the European Championship. She looked at me and she said, what did you put in your coffee? Are you crazy? And I said this seriously, Jorge, because I believed that the team would play more united. The team would play with a cause because they just lost their best player, the best player in the world, and now they have to show their worth. And they did. And one player, Jorge, I'm going to tell you that doesn't get the respect from yesterday's game that I believe deserves a lot of respect, that's Fonte, the defender. This guy played like a brick wall. He absolutely showed the rest of the world that he deserves a lot of respect, and for me, he got it.
100% sure, and I think this call from José Fonte to the national team should be done in a couple of years before his tournament, because he's a great defender. He plays in a strong league in Southampton. He's the captain of Southampton. He deserves more than anybody this call to the first team, and he got the job. He was strong. He was ruthless. And besides Pep, when they play together, they are an awesome team in the backfield for Portugal.
A young star on the rise. We've talked about Sanchez, but let's talk about Rafael Guerreiro. This kid, to me, is going to be a player for many, many years, especially in the position he plays, Jorge. He's confident. He was cool, smart, intelligent, and he knew what he wanted to do when he got that ball, and he was courageous. I loved watching this young kid play.
Yes, and it was funny because most of the Portuguese soccer fans, those ones, the regular fans, they don't fall into the national team. They never heard about him. And then suddenly we have this guy plays for Portugal. He starts to be known. He gets a huge contract. He's going to play in the German at Borussia Dortmund, I think. And now he's on top of the world too. And everybody keeps thinking, why we have these players playing outside Portugal on smaller teams that we never heard about it. And we have to give credit to our national coach, Fernando Santos, to look at these young players, the players that plays in France, in Germany, in Europe, but in small leagues or in smaller teams, that they have quality. They are good players. They just need the opportunity, like Rafael Guerreiro, like José Fonte. And now we have a bunch of players, new players, not in terms of age, but in terms of national team, that they are willing to give everything for that Portuguese jersey, and that makes us proud and confident looking at the future. Now we have a title to defend, but for sure we have a lot of young players, young blood, that they want to be good, be better, be strong, and they want an opportunity in the national team.
I said this after the game against Croatia when people were throwing all sorts of hate towards Portugal because of the style of play they played, and the first few games, the first 3 games opening round, nobody was impressed with them. And I said this since the Croatia game. It does not matter about style. All that matters is wins and losses. And I could care less about what style of play you play, but it comes down to wins, and that's what Portugal proved. We saw that with Greece in your homeland of Portugal in that Euro, where they had no style for me either, and they won it all. To me, the glue since the first game for Portugal has been Rui Patricio. Not Ronaldo, not Nani, not Cedric, not Sanchez. Rui Patricio has been the quiet, solid leader.
Yes, and yesterday he was amazing. I don't know how they choose Pep at man of the match. I know that Pep was playing really good during the final, but yesterday I think the man of the match should be Rui Patricio. 4 or 5 shots from France, he was amazing. He was there, quiet, bringing some confidence to the Portuguese team, and that's what we expect from a goalie, to be there when we need them.
Jorge, let's talk a little bit about this French team, and then we'll move on to the tournament as a whole, and then we'll let you go. When I watched this French team yesterday and all tournament long, something came to my mind, and you give me your thoughts. You know, I look at Matilde, I look at Pogba, I look at Sissoko, and they all, to me, look like the same type of player. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm pretty close to being right on it. They don't bring me anything different. I was disappointed in Pogba because of all the hype and all the expectation, and the young man did not bring it yesterday. I looked at the other two guys I mentioned. They look like, to me, that they all played the same style.
Yes, and I think the only one that played a little bit better yesterday was Sissoko. He was the one that was pushing hard and tried to bring France on top of Portugal. And thank God that Portugal had that situation with Cristiano Ronaldo, because that injury, the way he was with Payet, I think that brings the Portuguese team even together, even more solid, more stronger. And thank God for all the critics during this Euro Cup saying bad stuff about Portugal, about the Portugal way of playing, and that built this team, that give them confidence through the whole tournament. It was us Portuguese against the rest of the world, and that makes us even stronger. And that feeling that we need to prove ourselves that we are champions, we can do this and we can win. And that's exactly what happened during this Euro Cup.
So as we close it out, Jorge, where do we go from here now for Portugal? Obviously, the World Cup qualifying begins in September for a lot of the nations, and this team has just come off an unbelievable ride. First championship Euro. It'll go down in history as one of the greatest wins in Euro on France's soil. I look at the lineup, and there's a lot of guys that are up there in their 30s, mid-30s, getting up there. Pepe, we look at Nani, we look at, if I'm not mistaken, Rui Patricio's pretty close to that. And you've got some good youngsters like Sanchez. We mentioned Rafael Guerrero. There's some others coming up. It's a good mix, but it's also a mix that's got a lot of the younger guys pushing for position. Eder, who scored the goal, is 27, 28. He's got a real opportunity now to make something for himself. Do you believe now is the opportunity where Santo has to give more of the young players an opportunity?
I think it started with him, calling players like Cedric, like Romário, William Carvalho, Renato Sanchez, even Zé Fonte. It was a risk that our national coach took by choosing those players. But I think we were needing something like this to mix the youth and the experience. And I think this could be the key for the future for the Portugal national team. Because now we have a really strong idea that we are capable to do it, so we just need to find the good players. And sometimes the good players is not just only the players that are playing for the big teams like Real Madrid or like in Premier League. No, we are a good country that gives a lot of good players. There's a lot of players, Portuguese players, playing in Europe, and sometimes we don't look at them as we should. So I think with this title, with this win at the World Cup, at the Euro Cup, it's going to bring more confidence, even in the youth players, that they have a chance to play for the World Cup. So they're going to try even harder to be on the national team. So this is good for the Portuguese soccer for sure.
Jorge, we have only 30 seconds left, and I want to get your thoughts on this. As a youngster growing up here in Toronto, you always knew that Benfica was one of the strongest teams in Europe, but also in Portugal. But I got to tell you, for me right now, that sporting program is producing world-class players. Is Porto, is Benfica, are they starting to also bring those type of players up the system like Sporting has?
I'm going to say completely the opposite. this is the reflection that the work that the Sporting Academy have done in the last 10 years. Now, the youth teams from Portugal, they have more players from Porto, from Benfica, and from the other national teams. So right now, we are in the transition phase. So the players from Sporting are the players that we know now. But we have the youngest coming to the under 20, under 19. We won the Euro Cup in under 17. And most of the players, they play for Benfica and for Porto. So we are bringing the new wave of the Portuguese soccer players, not only from Sporting, but from the Benfica Academy, Porto Academy. Actually, the Benfica Academy won the prize for the best soccer academy in the world last year. And Renato Sanchez is just one example of the players that we are dealing right now with the Benfica Academy. So for sure, in recently years, the upcoming years, we're going to have more players like Renato Sanchez, like the players that Sporting they brought to the table for this Euro Cup. But I think that the future it's bright for the Portuguese soccer, for our national team. And now we break that mental block that we are a good team, but we never won nothing. And now it's completely different. We are going through. That's it. We are European champions.
And now the target,
it's going to be different for sure.
And now the target is on you. And now the rest of Europe and the world knows that the target is on you, because in the same sentence, when people talk about Germany, Spain, Italy, they talk about Portugal, because you have finally won one. Congratulations, Jorge. Thank you so much again for joining us. And we'll talk to you once the World Cup qualifying begins, because then some other stories will come away from that as well. Thanks so much again, Jorge. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Anthony.